Hi, welcome. On this video, I want to um, provide some insight, okay, into those who identify as force-free dog trainers with how they approach a relationship problem by way of a aggressive dog. And again, I talk about these very problematic themes, okay, that align with this idea that trains a learning-based exercise. And the three themes that I talk about are the themes of bribery, accommodation, and negotiation. And again, when I line this up with an example, my go-to is the parenting example. Anyone who's a parent, who's experienced dealing with a um, situation involving a child that's become very selfish, will start to again understand when you start to look at again. This is why I draw that example by way of dogs as social animals. Okay, depth of relationship. Dogs share a very special connection with us at that level, which really highlights the critical nature of our role. But not just our role, things that go along with that role by way of how we connect at that level, by way of our emotions, okay? And understand it's no accident, okay, that those who have a higher level of emotional connection going on with dogs are experiencing the most when it comes to a relationship problem by way of behavioral issues. Understand that that's no accident. And so here again, my goal is to help dial people into, how to reverse course when it comes to, changing how you're connecting, how you're interacting with. And again, this when I say interacting with, that really highlights the system of training. It's a interaction-based approach, which reconciles both your role as well as the role of influence and control when it comes to changing perception of dogs the right way, following the path of what training really represents. It's a intervention. Okay, once a relationship problem is already underway, and again aligns with a intentional interaction-based method, which reverses course when it comes to a relationship problem with dogs. Now, here in this video, again, put up by a very popular social media dog trainer. In fact, if you hear him talking, it really takes his authority as a dog trainer by way of his social media presence. And I'm not saying that's a good thing. Okay, when you start to understand the issue by way of popularity, appearances, and how this idea itself plays into exploits, appearances, and again, you start to layer this up in terms of, outcomes. You see just how common it is for people to invest time, money, and energy in this idea, even as dogs are looking fantastic at times responding. However, coming out of the other side of a process, still dealing with a unresolved relationship issue. I'm saying this happens all the time. And again, that's why I talk about the parenting example. So different than, once a child has become selfish, it's like having a so-called professional come in, okay, to your home to advocate, and simply the only thought process in their head is how can I get this child to respond by way of something that they want, say a brand new Xbox game, so I can pass those responses, superficial responses, off to the parent, as is, without any, without connecting dots properly, without sitting down with the parent in terms of their role, without auditing the parenting style, without actually considering why those responses would be problematic based again on the superficial way in which the individual is generating those, and just trying to pass those off as meaningful, or that the relationship is changing, and just like leaving the scene of a crime, walking away, and then after a couple of days, the parent saying, "Okay, there's something wrong here. This looks like bribery because it is," and yeah, and then just leaving them in a worse position than before you even got involved. I understand this happens all the time in the dog training world. This is what you're seeing out there. So understand in the dog training world, based on just like them ignoring the current state of the relationship with dogs, well, the current state of the of what's happening in the dog training world is a complete disaster. Okay, understand that you're seeing everything. That's why I call my series "Flipping the Script," because everything's upside down. well, I'm actually flipping it right side up by way of helping dog owners understand, why it is in the state that it's in. But again, at the same time, the solution. How do you reverse course? So again, we go on social media, understand that you can't trust appearances. These trainers are bribing these dogs. This is why you go into the social media areas of these trainers, look for video content. What you're going to find is you're going to find videos that look like infomercials for a reason. Okay, you're not going to get transparency that way because, my response is, well, it's impossible to market bribery that way, to come out in the open, because this is why you see these trainers market the way that they do. You don't see them showing full transparency right from the start to finish, with the picture being put to the test at all points the right way, with those core ingredients I talk about, influence and control in the equation. And so therefore, again, this is why you see what you see. But there's moments, okay, that you're going to see, kind of like some truth come to the surface. And that's what you're going to see here as Zak George engages this dog that's gained, a higher level of control in the relationship with their owner. And those themes in play: bribery, okay, accommodation, negotiation. You're going to see this dog flame up. I'll talk about that. Why? So I'll play some of this video, stop along the way again to talk about why it is that this idea is very problematic, and you'll see the truth revealed in certain moments for a reason.
Recently, Delta, the German Shepherd dog mix, came by. My understanding is that she occasionally becomes uncomfortable with people, and she's...
So right here, and right away, okay, I stop it because there's problems right away. So this dog's on a body harness, shouldn't be. Okay, it's about, again, intent. Okay, it's about connection, control, intentional control. Okay, to advocate. Okay, again, I talk about the role of influence. Well, again, understand dogs as social animals, as pack animals. Okay, strengths and weaknesses defined through the relationship that way. It's really important that it's expressed. Okay, you're connecting the right way with a dog, because understand, I talk about training. This is a type of power play. Once a relationship problem is underway, it needs to follow a path of an intervention, a type of power play. But again, like the parenting example, it's a type of power play by way of a parent who's changing their parenting style, and the child doesn't like, okay, that fact that the parent's in their airspace differently, and you get a little pushback. Okay, but again, it's about clarity at the same time. Okay, I talk about the importance of clarity through that process. Here, you're seeing again the problem right away, body harness, because what happens is the dog's ability to be able to control, to push forward. Okay, and then in terms of, being intentional with intercepting, okay, the dog's state of mind by way of how influence is transferred through a leash, that connection point needs to be specific. Okay, it needs to be, this dog should be attached to a collar. But here, the problem here, and this is one of the contrasts, now the dog's got a muzzle on, you'll see this dog pawing at that muzzle at times, trying to get that muzzle off. Okay, because again, understand, it's about things making sense. That's why dogs, in terms of using the crate, represents control. Everything's an extension of the relationship. Okay, that's how the dog sees it. And so when you're in conflict with that, when you're like, when you're kind of really wobbling that way, you're like, okay, I don't like the crate, I don't, the collar, the dog is choking, and be aware of this. Okay, this is very common at the physiological level. Once a dog gains a higher level of control in the relationship, a stress comes onto that dog, a stress load. And no different than a child not finding comfort in the right parenting style. So what that does is that affects the dog's state of mind. You get a physiological reaction, it's mind and body. So you get that type of choking and craziness and carrying on. You'll see it. Young dogs especially, they'll start spinning and screaming almost and going on. And that's the stress. But then if I'm very emotionally connected to the dog, I'm thinking I'm hurting the dog, because I'm just looking at the physical. I'm not, there's no depth anywhere with this process. So the ability even for these trainers, okay, to even reconcile certain responses, it's lost in translation, so to speak, based again on a superficial idea of things. That's why they never work through these relationship problems. But then for the owner, you look and say, oh, am I choking the dog? And don't get me wrong, of course you're going to check that, but trust me, the majority of cases, it's the stress. And then you stop, and then you have empathy, and then you never get out of it. You'll never resolve it, because everything's going to line up. And that's why it's so important to make sure that you're able to understand what a process is at the beginning and your role through that.
She's been known to snap at people.
See that? That dog's trying to get that muzzle off because it's control. Dog's saying, well, why would I accept this if, if everything else going on, I'm in control. And there's no intentionality here about getting this dog, everything funneling this dog, bringing intentional control of this dog. Get this dog right near your side. They start to speak the right language through how you're interacting. Those things aren't happening here. Of course, if Zak George is on the scene, I guarantee you they're not going to be happening anyway.
People. I've asked Danielle to get Delta comfortable.
Look, like touching the dog like that, don't do stuff. There got to be clarity the right way. Okay, you start to put any sort of petting or touch that way, you don't want to do that because you're going to see in a minute. Okay, what happens when Zak George shows up here? I gets close to this dog.
With a basket muzzle prior to our meeting. These kinds of muzzles are the best for managing a dog who might snap or.
So talk about managing a dog. I mean, understand that that's the trap you get into with trainers like this. Is you get trapped in this situation where you're managing a problem, but you're not ever going to change it because the change part, comes through the core ingredients aligning through a intentional interaction-based method.
Bite a person or animal as they allow the dog to pant, take treats, and drink water while.
Take treats. That's important. I mean, pay attention. Take treats.
Keeping everybody safe. It's uncommon for dogs to.
So right here, pay attention. So this is going to be the flame up moment. So I talk about, when a dog, has gained a higher level of control in the relationship, and then you start to bring a dog under a certain level of control. So the muzzle's on this dog, right? So Zak George is walking over here to pet on this dog, and that's just enough. Understand that, when a dog's in full control, that's why how dogs can look, well behaved in the home environment and gaining an incredible amount of control. Through how you're connecting, the petting, the core ingredients aren't online a certain way. You have a certain way of thinking, and then kaboom, you feel like you just got blindsided because again, it came out of nowhere. Well, no, consider again, go back to the parenting example, how selfish child can look well behaved most of the day. They're playing their video games, hanging out, doing what they want, but consider the moments of truth and really think about this. It'll make sense. The moment where it's like, pick up your toys, not for, something in return or in exchange that way to motivate a response through bribery, but pick up the toys because you're the parent. Well, truth revealed most cases because the selfish child isn't going to want to do it, right? Because they have a certain idea of things and they have a certain way of thinking. And so when I talk about, how dogs as social animals can look well behaved most of the day until, think about the moment you get a dog on a leash a certain way. That's not happening here. But there's enough here through that muzzle, and then good old Zak George is coming over here, and he's not about interacting or a process the right way. He's all about bribery, negotiation, petting all over dogs. It's all about exploiting people's emotions, right? It's not about going the right path here. So, but here's the problem: when he touches this dog, you watch him kind of step back fast. This dog's going to explode here for a second. Because that's so it's like you're empowering the dog, but then there's enough aspects of control happening in this environment to trigger this dog off. Because it is about clarity the right way. Especially when you deal with some dogs that have a high level of control. Really important that everything holds together. Those core elements are present, but you don't want to, as soon as you introduce some touch a certain way, that dog can trigger off fast.
To snap at people without warning and seemingly unprovoked. You can see here I'm cautiously petting Delta as I'm aware of her issue.
Now here's an interesting moment. If you rewatch this, the dog's like shaking his head like keep petting me. Like that becomes empowerment because it's like, so what it is trying to retip the scales here. It's like trying to say, hey, keep it going, because it's like, but it's not going to work here. It's gonna flame up.
Have you ever bitten a person or snapped at a person?
She's snapped before, but she's never bitten.
So right there, you saw that. That's what it is. Like firing gasoline.
Looking at this again, perhaps she took exception with being pet on top of her head by some.
See, because he has no answers, right? And then the dog lunges forward. It's like one full control, right? Because understand, this is a situation. It's like you're bouncing back and forth. So again, all to say that you're looking for answers. Through Zak George or force-free or even balanced dog training, you're not going to get clarity that way because both these groups, they align with this superficial idea, that trains to learn based exercise, They're motivating dogs using motivating agents. When I talk about, what's a motivator, because understand this is entrenched. It's like a so-called professional coming into your home, dealing with a relationship problem between you and yourself, a child, saying just that's the only thought. So how can I motivate the child? I mean, think about that. It's entrenched. It should be no. It should be, auditing the relationship the right way, and the relationship, this level, it's like social contract stuff going, this level of connection. That's the motivator, right? You need to think different, but not think the right way, and bring the spotlight onto the owner the right way, their role, and you need to bring those core ingredients in. But how do you do that? Intentional interaction based method speaks the right language. So I encourage you to check out my website. Lots of great information. Have questions, contact me. I have so many. I encounter so many dog owners. You go on social media, they encounter what's the first people they find, because they're all over social media. Zak George, people like them. I mean, and then it's a bad start. It's a really bad start. But again, the idea here is for people to kind of really see what's going on, because trust me, the collateral damage of the stuff, you end up feeling like you're spinning your wheels. You never fix anything. You're locked into a management situation. You're walking on eggshells. That's what happens, especially when you deal with these dogs that are, I call them 1 percentile dogs, the ones that have a higher level of social need. To get out of that, it takes the right process. Thanks for watching.